Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, StrangeNet here. So today I want to talk about the EVE Online grind. And let's face it, EVE Online is a grind. It's always been a grind, and good possibility it will be long into the future. And the grind is what kind of makes the game what it is. So you need to find an area of the game that you enjoy and that you can grind or do the things that you need to do in order to be able to do the things you do enjoy. And that, all in all, at the moment, is there are numerous things to choose from nowadays. You've got level 4 missions, you've got mining, although that's a bit of a hot topic at the moment, but either way, it's still there. You've got incursions, you've got the abyss, you've got nullsec anomalies, you've got belt ratting. There's a whole multitude of things that you can do nowadays. Industry, trading, again, you name it, it's there. Now, without going all old man StrangeNet on you, it took me 3 months to build my first Osprey. It took me another month after that to buy the corp that I wanted, and pretty much after that it took me 9 months before I owned my first battleship. And it became apparent very, very quickly that in order to do the things I wanted to do, I needed to find a way to generate ISK. And I've covered this in previous videos, but again, I often find the best way of making ISK or finding areas to make ISK is to analyse what it is that you're actually doing in game and what it is, whether you're wormholing and you're just selling the blue loot on the market to buy orders. There's obviously a gap there. Now, it had become apparent to me, obviously, when I was mining for my Osprey that I would take my ore back to the station and just sell it to a buy order, basically. And I looked at the buy orders over time and thought, I could put it on the market and sell it and wait. But obviously that meant that I had to wait for it. And this is coming from other games. EVE is very different. EVE really does reward you for long-term thinking and long-term planning. And I think this is incredibly poignant in the market that you can either have your instant ISK, but you get less for it, or you can wait. And you'll generally get more ISK, but again, there is a time period that will be involved with this. And it's them two choices that you have to decide. Do you want the instant gratification, or are you willing to wait for more? And again, it's generally not a lot more, but it is more. So anyway, I'd mined for my first Osprey, and over the 3 months, the guy that I started with at the time, one of my mates, had decided that the game wasn't quite for him, and he left. So I was on my own, playing a MMO, and needed something to do. So I found a corp that was a PvP corp. I kind of like the idea of PvP. I'd done quite a lot of PvP in Diablo prior to that, so the idea of, and again, that was hardcore. I'd played on Diablo, so losing stuff was part and parcel of the fun of the game, and this is why long term I've stuck with EVE, because I like the fact, and this is kind of masochistic I know, but I like the fact that bad decisions have big consequences, and it's painful. I've got tens of billions of ISK, and it still hurts losing a ship. Now, it hurts more when it's my own stupidity and that I've done something stupid, but because it's time. It's time I've lost with every kill. Or every loss that I suffer. It's time that has been stripped away from me, because in order to make ISK in EVE, it takes time in one sense, fashion or another. Whether you buy in Plex, it takes real life time to grind out a job, or whether you're mining, or whatever you're doing, it all takes time. And that's also the reverse. But when you're PvPing and you shoot somebody else's ship and it explodes, it's hurt. Doesn't matter generally how much ISK they have, but they've felt pain, they've had to earn that. And that is what makes EVE so fantastic in the end, that, it has consequences. When you're winning, it's a great feeling, because you've hurt the enemy, basically, and that they're going to have to go away, recoup, regrind, or that you've, taken a little piece of what they have earned with you. And that is, and especially in a lot of games, especially nowadays, it's relatively unique. You don't get that a great deal, and it's that sense of loss, and it's that makes people hoard stuff and take less risks, because it hurts, and let's face it, nobody wants to be losing everything they've got. And that brings me back to finding a way to make ISK that works for you. And again, there's passive ways, there's active ways, there's less passive but still passive ways, and there's very active. And it's for you to find which one it is that works for you. And again, there's other ways of looking at it as well. So for instance, you don't have to grind a great deal for ISK, but it means you'll have to fly cheap ships. And if you're okay with that, you know, flying a blinged out, I don't know, Macarial, for instance, that's costing you 2 billion ISK, isn't a great deal extra fun for the vast majority of people than it is flying a Rifter that's got a, you know, Tech 1 fit and you're flying by the seat of your pants. That can be just as much fun as flying a blinged out ship. But if you are flying a blinged out ship, then obviously you need to find a way of affording it, because obviously your ship, when you're PvPing, it is going to explode sooner or later and you're going to have to replace it. And if, in order to replace your ship, you're thinking, oh God, I'm going to have to do another 10 hours of level 4 missions to replace this, and the idea of that fills you with dread, then you probably shouldn't be flying that ship and you need to be looking for cheaper alternatives. And the fact that, I don't know, running a level 4 mission can then fit you out 2 Rifters, which are going to last you several days, then that's probably a much better way of going about it. So, as we said, finding a way of making ISK is probably the most important thing, because again, if you enjoy the grind, then again, the money will flow in slowly but surely, and over time, you'll be able to do what it is that you want in game. And that brings me back to how I first started making the ISK, but that basically set the foundations. And the chances are, from probably around about 2006 to 2012, if you bought any minerals on the market from the forge that wasn't in Jitter, there was probably a 50% chance you were buying the minerals from me. And that was because basically what I would do, and it doesn't work as much anymore. I have tried this over recent months and it doesn't work as well as it did, but we can see here we've got jumps from Jitter, etc. Now what I would do is I would go down to find the biggest or the largest range. So we've got a region here. So this guy is buying, so it probably still does work to some extent. This guy is buying 157, yeah, it's a bit, I wonder what he started at. But I digress. 157 million titanium here and in the anywhere in the forge, basically. So what I would do is I would, again, and this was before a lot of the taxes and that came in, so it was more viable. It's become a bit harder now because obviously there's quite a lot of tax and this, that and the other. But I would place a buy order in Jitter. It would be over 10 jumps, and I would look for the one that had the biggest range, whether it was 5 or whatever, and see what price they were doing it at. So that was 4 ISK per unit, which is 12% below. So I would do it just above, which would be 4.01, and then I would make sure I had a minimum quantity, because you don't want 1 unit here, there and everywhere. And again, this guy, yeah, this 1 unit, yeah, I wouldn't want that, because you end up with minerals scattered everywhere and you can't do much. So for instance, I'd take 1 million as a minimum. I would check to see how much that was, so 4 million at the time, that would have been quite reasonable. And then I would put in an order for, say, 400 million ISKs worth, or 100,000 titanium, minimum of 1 million units, and then just place the order and just wait. Now, over time, could be days, could be a week, I would go in periodically, well, every morning to be perfectly honest, reset my order, make sure that someone hadn't pipped me by 0.1, and go from there. We can still see some remnants to that. So if we're looking at the assets that I've got at the moment, and again, I haven't done this for years, we type in titanium, I've got 5 million there, 5 million there, 2 million, 4 million, 4 million. I wonder if I've got any pyrite. Let's have a look. Nope. Max. Nope. So yeah, so what I would do is, obviously, I would check every morning, probably every evening, see where an order had come in, go to it on here, and sell it exactly where it was. Now, it's used to confuse people. I used to try and explain this to people, and I didn't have a YouTube channel back there, so couldn't explain how or why this kind of worked. But basically, all I would do was relist it at the average at the time, like so, So we get the equals, or basically so it wasn't red or green, and then just sell it where it was. And that was all I would do. And again, I did this for years, and it didn't make me huge amounts of ISK. You know, I didn't get rich from doing this, but it was a constant flow of ISK always coming in. And it generally meant that I was earning more ISK on average. And again, you know, I'm really bad at this. I used to be able to do this with my eyes closed. So 457, and that it always meant that I was generating ISK whether I was playing or not playing. And again, over time it just generated enough ISK, and it was so easy. I didn't have to do a great deal. Yes, there were times when obviously the market dropped and I was left holding the bag a bit, and I'd have to chase the market or try and sell, but I'd made enough ISK from, again, I could have probably put that on more, but it was all about not being greedy, and I was quite happy to make the 12-15% markup that I was making. And the difference here is as well, obviously, you know, there's tax to go on to this, but it's just sat there. So again, this is more for how I used to do it than you can do this now. So taking into taxes, it's probably not worth it in the end, but that was how I would do it. And again, I would just do, you know, I'd put a 2-3 billion ISK order in for Tritanium and just let it fill, and again do it with Pyrite and Mex and Nox and the rest of it. I didn't usually go to the high-end stuff because again it was too easy for people to transport, and you know that didn't make me enough ISK, and it required a lot more ISK because obviously low ends were, or high ends were more expensive, and people were just moving themselves, where moving a great deal of Tritanium is a pain, so people were quite happy to obviously sell it where they were mining it or wherever they'd acquired it, and I was quite happy to buy it, sit on it and wait for it. And often I had 300 orders open trying to sell this stuff, but it moved, and again it was a way of making ISK that I could manage. And again, you know, going in and updating a couple of hundred orders every day, because you know, for instance, I got the 4 or 5 orders. If the average dropped slightly, I would follow it down. So then I'd have to update, 50-60 orders in the morning. But for me, that was acceptable. And over time as well, it snowballed. I was able to put bigger orders on and, you know, do, as I said, Tritanium, Pyrite, Mex, and slowly build it up from there. And every now and then you get somebody dump a huge amount of Tritanium on the market, say 500,000 units. And that would be a bit of a payday. I'd make like 50 odd million ISK from that. And that was, you know, looking back, it wasn't a great deal of ISK, but that's what started me looking at alternative ways of making ISK. And again, it was a way it didn't really take me a great deal of time. I didn't have to do level 4 missions that people hated. I didn't have to mine. I didn't have to rat. I did what I wanted to do in the game when I wanted to do it. And again, that set a nice baseline for what I wanted from the game. I could enjoy the bits that I wanted to do, have the ISK to do what I wanted to do, and not focus on areas of the game that, you know, I didn't enjoy doing. And that is why generally I'm here after the 17 years, because I've not ground myself to death. And when I do find something I enjoy doing, i.e. the Abyss, I'm not doing it because I need the ISK. I'm doing it because I actually enjoy doing it. And that therefore just adds to the ISK pile that I have and gives me more opportunities to invest it elsewhere and, again, grow that pile. And there comes to a point, and I often think this and sit there and think, well, why am I grinding more ISK? And it's not that I'm grinding more ISK, it's just that I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing, and that grows my ISK pile. And again, obviously I have a channel about how to make ISK in general, so therefore, you know, it kind of helps with that as well. But I don't do it because I have to, I do it nowadays because I want to, and just, you know, it grows day by day, bit by bit. And that, you know, goes for everything. I'm still making stuff and I'm still doing this, and it just rolls in slowly but surely without the emphasis of, oh my gosh, I need a battleship, I've got to grind, I need this ISK. And yeah, you know, there are things in the game I can't afford, and you know, it's not the fact that I want, the things I can't afford generally I don't want anyway. So, and the things I do enjoy doing, the ISK that I have is more than enough to support it. And again, I'm always generating more than I'm losing, and that means that hopefully long term I will enjoy the game for as long as I want to enjoy it, and not have to do the activities that make me want to pull my hair out. So with that, I hope that is useful, and again, a bit of a ramble there, I guess, in the end, but again, I just wanted to reiterate how, finding something that you want to do is so important, or a way that you can sustain the activities in the game that you want. And again, Reddit is a bit of a poisonous place to be sometimes, and I do see where people are coming from, and that, making things harder isn't necessarily a great thing, but making it easier isn't necessarily good either. The reason we like to go and shoot the bigger ships, but the fact that when a Titan gets tackled, everybody from everywhere jumps online to go and shoot at it, is because it's big, it's rare, and if everybody had a Titan, what would be the point? And again, this start, back in the day, it was everybody would jump on to shoot a battleship, and then it was a dreadnought, and then it was a mothership before they were carriers, and then it was super carriers, and but who logs on nowadays to shoot a carrier? It's like, everybody's killed a carrier, or a ten a penny. Probably not as much at the moment, because obviously price increase, but the point still stands that as people have got richer and ISK has become generally easier to acquire in one fashion or another, that there's more sloshing around, and it's taking 3 months to mine for an Osprey was painful back in the day, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But being able to throw away faction battleships at 10 a penny doesn't make the game any more interesting either, and you lose that sense of loss. And I think that is very important to remember. That's what generally makes EVE Online a fantastic game, and again, your actions have consequences, and that keeps people on their toes and the game exciting, and gives you that that rush when things are going bad or well. So with that, thanks for listening, thanks for your time, and I'll talk to you again soon.